Hello and welcome back to part 3, manipulating DOM elements. In this part we'll look at various ways of manipulating DOM elements by adding them or removing them from a document. We'll also look at some basic animations that allow you to hide or show hidden elements using either fade in or a sliding animation. We'll also take a quick look at the jQuery UI library that adds many more animation features and user interface elements that you can add to your application. jQuery allows you to add and remove DOM elements using various functions. To create a new DOM element, you simply need to format a valid HTML string. Various functions allow you to add and remove from different parts of an element. For example, append adds content to the inner part of the element at the end. If you had a paragraph element with all that exclamation point, appending the string and more will append it to the end, but inside the closing paragraph tag, meaning that you're appending the content to the actual element. Prepend is similar but adds the content to the inner part at the beginning. For example, if we use prepend, the content will be placed at the beginning of the paragraph inside the opening paragraph tag. You can also use after to add an entire DOM element after the matched elements. The difference here is that the content is added after the closing tag, making it its own DOM element. For example, if we use after to add a paragraph, then the paragraph will appear after the original paragraph. Similarly, before will add the DOM element before the matched elements, so the paragraph will appear before the original content. The empty function empties the content of the element, including all of its inner text and any descendant elements that may be there. Here, if we empty a paragraph containing a few words as well as a child element, a link in this case, all of that will be removed and we'll be left with just the tag itself. An empty element, but the element still remains. If we want to remove the entire element, we can use the remove function. This removes the element, its inner content, and any descendants entirely. So if the paragraph upon removal will just simply cease to exist. Let's take a look at some examples. Here we have the web page from before. The introduction paragraph, let's go ahead and add some more content to it by appending. The content is appended to the end of the paragraph, making it part of the paragraph element. Alternatively, we could add an entire DOM element after the lead paragraph, using the after function. Here we'll create a new paragraph containing "please try it for yourself." Note that the string has to be a validly formatted HTML string. And now we've got a new paragraph after this paragraph. We can also add content before by using prepend. The content is added to the paragraph. We can also add DOM content before the element using the before function. We can also empty an element. That removes the content, but it leaves the DOM element still there. It's still there because we can still select it. But if we remove it, then it's gone entirely. Now the result is 0, and the content no longer exists. Be careful when doing this, because if you use a selector with multiple results, it'll remove them all. All paragraphs are now gone. All list items are now gone. In fact, you can delete the entire thing. If you want to hide an element in a document without actually removing it, you can use hide. You can also use show to reveal a previously hidden element in a DOM. Neither one of these actually removes anything from the DOM. Alternatively, you can show and hide with using some effects by fading it in, fading it out, or by using fade toggle. Fade toggle will fade an element in if it was already hidden. It'll fade it out if it's already visible. Alternatively, you can use slide up, slide down, or slide toggle for different effects. You can also provide a speed by providing an argument to the functions, using either a string, slow or fast, or a specific duration measured in milliseconds. 1500 would correspond to about 1.5 seconds. 3000 would correspond to 3 seconds. You can also chain these effects to give different animations. Let's take a look. Let's manipulate our main list over here, these 6 list items. Let's go ahead and fade them out. And now they're gone. A subsequent call to fade out has no effect because it's already invisible. So let's fade them back in. Let's fade it out slowly by passing a string containing slow to the function. And the effect is a little bit slower. Let's fade it back in, even slower than that, by providing a specific duration. We'll do it over 5 seconds. And fade toggle is similar. It fades out or fades in depending on its current state. You can also use a different effect with slide. Slide out and slide in. Hide and show are simply just very quick versions of them with no animation whatsoever. As mentioned previously, you can chain calls, so let's go ahead and fade it out fast and fade it in fast. And it kind of blinks. Let's change that to slide. You can use effects in conjunction with the other functions to remove elements, for example. We'll fade an element out and then remove it after it's been hidden. And now it's gone entirely. jQuery UI, standing for User Interface, is an add-on library built on top of jQuery. It adds many more animation effects. It also comes with loads of customizable user interface widgets that you can incorporate into your application. Similar to jQuery, you can either download and include the library locally, or you can use a CDN to include the script and CSS files. When initializing user interface elements, you do so in the ready function that we previously looked at. For example, using this syntax. Let's take a look at some of the effects that jQuery UI provides. Here's the main website. You can see that there are lots of different interactions, widgets, and effects and utilities that you can choose from. For example, it provides the ability to create DOM elements that are draggable. You can drag them around and drop them into buckets. It allows you to create list items that are sortable. A user can then drag and drop each item and resort it. It provides accordions that allow a user to focus on one particular piece of a page at a time, closing another piece. Autocomplete helps out a user by providing some suggestions for input boxes. A slider can be used for, say, a color picker. As we've previously seen, a date picker allows a user to enter in a date into an input box using a nice calendar pop-up menu. The last one that we'll look at is a tooltip. A tooltip can be used to give a user more information or hints about the content of a page. When hovering over a tooltip, additional information is displayed. On jQuery site, you can see the actual code that's used to produce these effects. Here, all that's needed is for you to initialize the tooltip in a ready function. Over here in our page, we've done so. Within our ready function, we've called the tooltip on the introduction paragraph. The tooltip content by default is placed in the title attribute. When we hover over it, the tooltip appears. When we move, it disappears. Using a library like jQuery UI really helps us to create a dynamic web page and web application with very little effort.